friends, welcome back to Men's Day Out. As we mark the World Suicide Prevention Day today, it is only apt that we discuss the latest NCRB report, which has been published last week, which talks about the suicide rate of men and women in India. To join us to discuss about this, we have Amit Deshpande, who has been spearheading the Vasta Foundation for many, many years in Mumbai. Hello, Amit. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Arnas, and hi, Men's Day Out, all the viewers. Thank you for calling me in.
Thank you. To give a little background, Amit has actually studied 50 years of NCRB data on suicide in the year 2014, which was actually published, and it had gone viral across several countries to analyze how they could work around it. So this is actually the background with which Amit comes. And so let's begin discussing this year's data, Amit. The report says 98,000 male suicides and approximately 41,000 female suicides. The top cause given for the same is marital or family disputes. Give us a macro picture of your understanding of this report.
Yeah, this report has been consistent. If we see in terms of at least the reasons of suicide that happen in India, and also the proportion if we consider the genders involved in that. So, I mean, close to, more than 90,000 men committing suicide and around 66,000 married men committing suicide has been going on from a long time. But one thing I've been observing is that from the past 4-5 years, the number of suicides by females is going down. That's a good thing. And I think that it is a result of a lot of focus on women's issues and all. But then I am surprised that year on year, we are like almost losing out the population equivalent to some European cities, major cities. Every year, about 90,000, 1 lakh men committing suicide per year. It's not a joke, but we don't have a focus on that. And also the study is rigged in such a way is that, if most of the women, if they are housewives, it will reflect in that, housewives are committing suicide. But when we see at the categorization of men, all the other categories, it is all very distributed. So you will never have a picture, the right picture, which needs to come out of these statistics about the number of men committing suicide. Rather, I would rather have a category wherein a housewife and an earning man. If we consider that, then at least something will come up. This cannot be done. But the focus upon men as victims, the male suicide numbers, it needs to be there, far more than what we have currently. And it is so bad to think that nobody is still focusing upon the reason behind it. Most of the times when we talk about male suicides, people have this notion that it could be because of financial issues. It should be because of some losses in business and losing jobs and all. But if we see the reason, it has been consistent. Family disputes, family issues remains the top number of reason why men commit suicide. And second number is illnesses for men. And this is close to 50% of the total amount of suicide. So these are very avoidable reasons why men commit suicide. And this thing is consistently going on. Nobody is still focusing upon to do something on this.
Right. Also, when you look at the categorization in the current report, you do see deaths of women due to dowry, but there is no real segmentation about the number of deaths which happen due to alimony. Now, when you say alimony, of course, it's a support which has been legally awarded to women, but it is a kind of legal extortion when a woman doesn't really deserve to get alimony, and which leads to suicides of men, perhaps even their parents and other family members. When you also talk about physical abuse as a category, you would be shocked to know that the number of male is more than the number of female. So either it is the male rape or it is the men committing suicide due to false cases on them. So what is your take on this?
Exactly. One thing, talking about the rapes, reason due to rape. I mean, suicides, men are committing suicide because of rape. That is surprising. I mean, and that number is far more than females committing because of the same reason. So it could be either of these things, as I just mentioned. Is like it is either men are going through rape and then they are committing suicide. So male rape, and male rape could be anything. It could be male on male rape or female on male rape, and both of these things are actually supposed to be criminalized in a civilized world. We almost had a law of this sort supporting men, but then it didn't move for various reasons. The other part, what you're talking about, is the categorization of female suicides because of dowry, and I mean, we have this tendency of having and looking at things analogous to what is coming in for women. So yeah, I mean, you are right. Related to alimony or related to what stresses men, if men and their families all. So we need to have something which could define that. Like if there are dowry related deaths, dowry related suicides that men and women are committing, why? What is that? I mean, why are men committing suicide because of dowry related deaths? Either it is because of false cases again, okay, or it is like men are like feeling that this particular woman is going to file a false case. I mean, something related to that. The other end is also about alimony. When we were talking about, if there is a separation and there are men committing suicide, so we are not focusing on that, and that figure again is more than women committing suicide. So when we talk about support to women as alimony and maintenance and all, we say that, oh, separation is bad for women, and then that's the reason they need to be supported. But why would men commit suicides because of separation and alimony related issues if it is not bad on them as women, as it is to women? In fact, now it is showing as worse. So I think the categorization needs to be studied further. This is no way. This is in no way reflecting the reality. We have written to NCRB. I mean, considering the World Suicide Prevention Day report that we had taken out, it was quite successful, as you mentioned. We had mentioned certain other suggestions also for that, like this should be treated as a mental health, is something that the government is also looking at. But when we studied further, there is no medical insurance for somebody who is saying that, okay, I'm mentally ill. So when you don't treat it as a problem at the very basic level, then on the macro level, you are going to get these disparities. That was one thing. The second thing we had recommended was decriminalization of attempt to suicide, which was done by the government later on. There are various other factors which came in, but I think our study and it going viral was one of the things. The one more thing we had recommended was to look at the modes, the mediums of attempting suicides, like people consuming pesticides or any other medicines and all, and trying to regulate their supply. There were certain things, and Ministry of Health had also mentioned about this, that they are looking into this. Nothing much has happened on that because obviously it is a little more complex. But yes, all these things have to be coming in when we study. Also, I mean, the categorization and this study has to evolve far more. That's right.
Sure. Globally, Amit, how do you think other countries are dealing with male suicide, and especially when it comes to the marital problems being one of the cause?
If we just see one study that has come out of UK, in England and Wales, they say that the number of men committing suicide in 2019 was highest in the past 20 years. And the suicide rate is just increasing over there also. The same thing when we talk about in Australia and US, there are men's rights activists trying to highlight these issues. But although everywhere the component of men committing suicide is far more compared to women, okay, but still there is not much attention across all the countries. They do have certain better systems wherein a man can approach helplines, man can approach certain communities, certain NGOs over there. It is a lot more also discussed in Parliament. I mean, there have been discussions in Australian Parliament about male suicides, but nothing compared to that. Even minuscule is happening in India. One good thing is the government has come up with a mental health helpline recently, and have thankfully named it gender neutral as Kiran, which is like, okay, it'll at least make men seem that, okay, I can go approach for help. It is not defined as not being for me. That is what happens in most of the support systems that come out of the government infrastructure. So it is a good step, but it is far less. And we have been covering the gap. Like, we are running a helpline for men, the SIF1 888 that has been such a huge success, particularly with rural Indian men, because they see that this is as a hope for them to share their problems at least. And I think government needs to do a lot more. We have had our recommendations given to Maharashtra CM also earlier, that every district should have a suicide helpline for men. I mean, it should define it that it is for men. I think then that will help in reducing the male suicide a lot.
Right. As you rightly said, like say today, if a farmer commits suicide, we assume it is because of problems with his, his job.
Right.
And, we don't really have a categorization that it could be perhaps due to family problems as well. So yes, I totally agree with you that we do need to focus more. Do you think India as a country has?
I'll just try to put in one more point when you're speaking about farmer suicides. See, 28% of farmers in Maharashtra are females. Their women are registered as farmers, 28%. And there was a report in Times of India which said that why there are statistics about male farmers committing more suicide than female farmers. They mentioned it that if a female farmer commits suicide, it is registered as dowry death. Can you imagine this? So there is so disparity, there is so confusion about the data that is coming across, and definitely it needs better evolution in terms of studies. Yeah.
Do you think India as a country has failed its men in our urge to, support women, and going to such an extent that today if a man lands up in a police station, he virtually has no law to support him?
Absolutely. I mean, there is no question about this thing, because I've been in my discussions talking about this, that the system we call as patriarchy, it cannot be just favored to one gender or one section, one community ever. I mean, society always finds its equilibrium. That's what anthropology suggests also. So we have forgotten all that, and we have only focused upon one section of the society to empower them, to take them out of imagined oppression and all that stuff. And we have completely ignored, neglected the issues that men face. There are no laws for a man to go ahead and take support from if he's facing the same kind of abuse that a woman is facing, like all the domestic abuse, all the different categories, sexual abuse, all the different scenarios, inside house, outside house, in office. So there is nothing that a man can do. And in fact, a man, if he's actually facing abuse, then the best thing that he does right now is just bide by his time. And probably if he wants to leave, go away from the abuse, then he's only risking further cases upon himself. That is the only solution that is still there. So it is really a very grim situation for men. Yeah.
Right. And you have been running Vasta Foundation, which is based out of Mumbai. You have a lot of men and their families, which would also include their mothers, their sisters, coming to you. In the absence of any laws which are pro-men, how do you guide them, and how do you actually advise them to go about handling these issues?
Yeah, so at Vastav, it is a team which has been working from the past 8-10 years. It is the same core team which has been going on, and that has been a blessing for us. Like, this is the only NGO which has got, in one city there is one NGO. Otherwise, I mean, that is something we proudly talk about. We run 3 different meeting places, Borivali, Mulund, and Vashi. And we definitely have one more, NGO connected to us, which is Mashal. That is Mothers and Sisters of Husbands Abused Against Law. So Mashal is like the women's wing of Vastav that is coming in, and all the females who want to associate with Vastav, they work through Mashal for us. And as I said, the law, there are no laws to help men. And when mothers and sisters are going through all these things, mothers and sisters of victims, they do come out and try to check out what they can do in terms of helping their brothers and sons. The whole issue about facing a matrimonial court case is about having the psychological strength to go through it. And the system is designed to break you at every different point. At some point you have to break. That's what the system wants, because it does not have a solution, a just solution for anyone. So they just hope that, okay, mediations are done, and somehow the man is frustrated so that he pays, or the woman is frustrated and she just leaves out, which doesn't happen often, because she is going to take something, so she will just bide by her patience and all. So we do a lot of support in terms of emotional strengthening, and then also one thing about the judicial system is that it is chaotic, and chaos is actually gender neutral. It is fair, equally fair to all. It is equally bad to all. So once a woman files a false case, okay, then she feels that she has done what she has to do, but then she has been trapped by the judicial system in some way, because once a false case is put up, then it is very difficult to sustain it. All that we tell men is how to fight the false case and how to take the truth out. There are laws wherein men can use to take the truth out, help the truth to come out, show counter evidences, question her evidences. And that's a process that we help men with. We train them. We have a lot of training sessions that go on. We have our weekly meetings in all the three different places, and we train men on that. We have about 150 men coming every week. So I think we've been doing quite well in terms of sustaining this support system, and I hope that this continues. That's all.
So as we saw, in the absence of any support coming directly from the government, I think there are people like Amit and his team and a lot of others who have been the warriors on ground, who are actually, there in the forefront to support, the problems that men go through. So Amit, I thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to doing more sessions with you so that we are able to help as in more and more people as we can through you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Harnas. And on World Suicide Prevention Day, I would just like a message to all your viewers is that just listen to men, okay? It's not just about talking about mental issues and all. Try to be compassionate, try to be empathetic to their causes, their issues. So I think that will be the first thing anyone can do on World Suicide Prevention Day.